Warzone 3 dropped yesterday, and so far I've played about 4 hours or so with Sammy Boy and It's Twisted. So in this video I'll be going over my very first impressions on the game. But before I do get into that, if you want to see more Warzone content from me and other games, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on. Now I think it's worth saying that first of all, given this was my very first time playing Warzone 3 and it wasn't for a huge amount of time, my opinions are very much going to be subject to change as the days and weeks go by. So please remember that my opinions aren't necessarily final, and these are of course opinions, so there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer. And we were also playing on Resurgence, so I didn't really get to explore the entire map as it does condense it quite a bit, so I don't necessarily have a true feeling for the larger Warzone experience itself, and we did win about 8 games out of 11 or something crazy like that, so perhaps my opinions will also be a little bit skewed. To start off then, I'll go over the things I do like before moving into the things that I don't like. First of all, the movement and the gunplay both feel great, especially when you compare it to Warzone 2 and even Modern Warfare 2 in general. Now I actually don't own Modern Warfare 3, so I've not been playing it at all since the beta dropped, and it's definitely different to how it is in Modern Warfare 2, especially with the gunplay I feel, so I had to pretty quickly get used to that, but also it meant I literally had no weapons leveled up, so I couldn't have any good loadouts really, so I was very much reliant on floor loot and the weapons people were dropping, but I was honestly fine with that, to be honest, because a lot of the guns that I picked up were all just really solid. The Bruin MK9, the MCW, the MTZ 556, the Bass B, and probably more as well. I used all of those guns quite a bit yesterday and they all actually felt really solid. And as for the sniper of the Cat in particular, that thing was absolutely insane. So I am definitely a big fan of the guns so far, and movement as well, like I said, is really clean. So Warzone itself honestly feels like a much smoother and better version of Warzone 1, which is absolutely perfect in my opinion. Warzone 1 I think I definitely took for granted in a way, so being able to experience something that's a bit like it is definitely a nice feeling. And as for the map itself, like I said, we were in Resurgence, so it was just smaller condensed areas, but we did get to explore a bit of the map, and so far I'm definitely enjoying it. There are a hell of a lot of buildings all over the place and cover, which has definitely made engagements for me personally a lot more viable with the way I play, so I am definitely enjoying that a lot. As previous Warzones had tons of open space, which I don't necessarily mind too much of, but there were a lot of times I felt like I was just running and like I couldn't honestly do too much, and perhaps that was also a mix of the movement and gunplay not being as good as it is now, but now it definitely feels like I can hold my own, which is definitely a nice feeling because it means that Twisted and Sammy don't have to carry me all the time. So they're the main things that I'm really enjoying thus far, but as for things I don't like, footstep audio and just audio of people gliding is pretty much non-existent. There are times where I have heard it a little bit, or someone else has heard it and called it out to me, but for the majority of last night I could not hear a single footstep, and especially couldn't hear anyone gliding back in, so I got dropped onto a couple times, which definitely wasn't the nicest of experiences. And of course this goes both ways as well. If I'm not necessarily hearing anything, other people won't be hearing things as well, so it makes my life a bit easier as well in all fairness, but I do definitely think that that should probably be looked into. Now there were also times that matchmaking took way too long to find games honestly, but I don't think it helped that Sammy and Twisted are in Australia, and so we were playing on Aussie servers whereas I'm in the UK, so that's definitely a part of it I would imagine, but it was also literally 4 hours after the update dropped, which means that not necessarily everyone was going to be playing it right away, but also in Australia it was like 5 AM or something like that, so most people wouldn't have even been awake yet. So I definitely give that the benefit of the doubt, as I imagine matchmaking will just improve as the days go by, and the game literally did just drop after a huge update, so it's definitely not a big issue. Now I also noticed there were quite a few bots in the game as well. I've seen videos about this in the past about bots being on Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer, and I definitely noticed this time in Warzone that is the case. Bots have been a thing in Fortnite for quite a long time now actually, and I don't mind it too much honestly, as it will probably make matchmaking times quicker, but at the end of the day all they're really doing is just giving you free kills, so you just push and get a bit complacent at times honestly. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just find it so much more satisfying when I kill an actual player rather than just some bot fully exposing themselves on a ledge, or just standing still for 10 seconds not moving, like I have experienced several times now. So it's definitely not the end of the world, it's just something I'm not the biggest fan of, but if it ultimately helps matchmaking times and getting people into the game straight away, then I definitely don't have an issue with that. I did also notice a couple of hackers last night as well. In one game in particular, this guy was hacking and he downed us collectively probably about 4 to 5 times, and it was literally me and Twisted versus this hacker right at the end of the game, and despite being on basically no health, we thankfully managed to clutch up and get the win, which was definitely very satisfying considering we knew he was hacking from the get-go and we were pretty much fighting him all game. So I am hoping anti-cheat can weed out some of those hackers pretty quickly, but thankfully for the most part it was a pretty clean slate. Now finally, I'm not a huge fan of the cutscenes at the start and end of a game. They are definitely really cool the first time you see it, but going into a game every 15 minutes and having to watch the same cutscene at the start every single time definitely isn't fun. I feel like it's a bit of a novelty piece, honestly, because like I said, it's cool to start with, but then as you go on, it just kind of drags and it's just not fun. I just want to get into the lobby and then get into a game straight from there, rather than going into the lobby, watching a 30-second cutscene to then go into it. I know it's not a huge amount of time, but it is just a little bit annoying. So I honestly wouldn't mind if they took that out, but I know that they probably wouldn't. So it's just a bit of a little nitpick from me there. Overall though, I have to say I am really enjoying Warzone 3 so far. Before going on, I honestly was a little bit hesitant as to whether or not I'd actually really want to play it for that long, but as soon as I jumped on, I was really enjoying it and I cannot wait to keep playing more. So if you want to see more Warzone content from me, like I said, please feel free to let me know. And if you have any specific loadouts you want me to try, then once I get to level 55 and have all the guns unlocked, then I'll definitely look at doing that, and I'll definitely build my own loadouts as well to make videos for you. That is it from me though. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.